Real quick, guys, before we start the video, just a quick shout out for Bernardo. Thank you for all your support over on Patreon. We truly appreciate it.
I should have bought it when I had a chance, but it was like it was like a mediocre game. That was a West game. That's
right. Yes, it was.
Game. Godzilla. It's very mediocre. West buys it.
I scooped it up.
Welcome to the Nerd Enthusiast Gaming Podcast. This week, we're going to be discussing the insanity that is retro gaming prices. With me, as always, my good friend Wes. Wes, how are you?
Hey, what's happening, man? I'm good. I'm good today.
Nice, man. You've been going to the gym. I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, you saw that, huh?
Yeah, man. Your Sega Sports tank top.
That still fits.
That's so crazy, man.
Trying to get that pre-COVID body back, you know.
Oh man, I gained some weight too. I'm in some bad shape right now. It's not good. But today we're going to be talking about some different retro game prices, some games that we have in our collection, some that aren't in our collection. We're just going to talk about the prices and what we think. Recently, we had a Zelda and a Mario 64 sold for a crazy amount of money, so we're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about Game Boy, since those prices are on the rise. They've kind of been on the rise for a little while, but they're still going there. Then we're going to talk about some of the sealed games that we still own. We don't go out of our way to really buy sealed games, but sometimes we buy stuff and gets put on the back burner, and then it ends up staying sealed, it happens. It happens to Wes more than me, though.
All the time.
First, I just want to say, if you guys could help us out, if you want to go over to patreon.com/nerdenthusiast, you guys can support our show there, as well as all of our other shows at Nerd Enthusiast. We definitely appreciate the support over there. Make sure you guys follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. We're on all those things, so check it out. All right, so let's start out with these prices, Wes. Let's see. What do we got first?
Well, like last episode, we did talk about a particular game you found.
Oh,
that we were gonna do some research and talk about the price on that.
That's right.
And that game was
Rock of the Dead.
Rock of the Dead.
And like I said, it probably wasn't worth much. And the research showed it's worth $6 complete in box. So, you know, I'll have to store that for another 50 years before it's worth maybe $10.
But you enjoyed it. You got your $6 worth out of it. That's all that matters.
Truthfully, I bought the game because I got the guitar that was signed by Rob Zombie, so I felt obligated to have the game that went along with the guitar. That was the reason Rob Zombie signed it. So it was kind of like, whatever. But the next game I want to talk about is a big one. Now, this is a game that you and I both don't own, but you mentioned the story about little Samson last time. That I think we talked about it. Did we talk about the story, or did we just kind of mention it?
I think we just kind of mentioned it.
Okay.
I think me and you talked privately about it.
Well, what better time to tell the story than now? So, if you guys didn't know, Wes works at a retro video game store called
Level Up Entertainment,
found
in New Jersey, South Jersey, Jersey Shore, Mays Landing, and we just opened our second location in Summers Point, New Jersey.
And you guys had a complete in-box little Samson. Just tell the story. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we do specialize in outside of comic books and Gundam models is retro games. And a customer decided to drop off and sell his collection, his Nintendo collection. And it was a game I've never heard of. It was called Little Samson. I was like, oh, well, all right. Never heard of it. It's probably worth $2. We did some research on it because he had some decent stuff in his collection. So we took our time and we started pricing and see what's going for. And Little Samson popped up, and the game was $1,000.
It was. What year was that in?
I want to say early 80s, mid 80s.
Yes, when it released. But what year did you guys get it in your store?
Oh, a year ago.
A year ago.
A year
ago, it was going for about $1,000. That's like the going price, when you guys looked it up. Is that right?
That's correct. It was complete in box. It was open, but again, it was a game I've never even heard of, and $1,000. I think we sold it for I want to say close to 1,200. After doing some more research, and we looked on eBay, and it was going for hefty amounts of money. It sold.
That game's like one of my like holy grails. So if you guys ever happen to somehow get another one before you sell it out in the store, you can give me a call and we can make a private deal for it if you want.
Yeah, because on the research that we did for this show, Loose is now going for $2,000.
Yeah, and Complete in Box is going for $5,000 plus.
And if you're one of those lucky individuals that have a sealed copy, it's going for $15,000.
Yeah, now that, I mean, the game is kind of hard to find to begin with, so there's probably very, very few loose copies out there. But the reason I like Little Samson so much is it's a good game to look at. That yes, it is rare, which is very important, but it's also actually a very good game too that not a lot of people have. Which I feel like it kind of makes it more sought after than a lot of things. Like stadium events is probably it's a harder to find game. Stadium events, it's what's worth a lot of money, but it's probably like a mediocre to average game. It's not like Little Samson. You know what I mean? So Little Samson just appeals way more to me, which is why I'm always interested in what the prices of that.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
While we're on the subject, before we go any further, I just thought of a question for you because I haven't asked you this before. I know I already know what your answer is going to be for more. I don't even know what to say. They're not modern. They're like the games from like the 2000s. I already know what your
modern
options are going to be. So for those, I know you want Complete in Box. You know, you want the manual, you want the case and the disc, right? You don't just want the disc.
Correct. I need everything. You know, call it my OCD. I need everything.
Now, what do you consider it being complete? If like, let's say they had like back in the day, they had those weird like cards, were like warranty cards and stuff like that. If it's missing, is that not complete to you?
I can live without the warranty card. I cringe, but as long as the box is there, the box art is there, the instruction manual is there, I'll take it. I can forgo the warranty card. You know, funny story though is going through Game Eye, which you recommended to me last episode, and is one of the best apps I've ever downloaded next to my comic app.
Go download it, everyone. It's free, and you can support them on Patreon. They don't sponsor our show. It's an awesome app.
I love it. It was the best decision I ever made to download it and keep track of my games. But as I'm going through, I still have a lot of my Xbox games still has the unused Xbox Live 3-day pass. It's still in.
Oh my gosh. I probably have a bunch of those too, because once I started with Xbox Live, like right at the beginning of Xbox 360, and I've had it ever since. So I would have had no use for those. So I'm sure that I still have those intact as well.
I just wonder if they're still active.
If they're still active?
If they're still good.
I mean, I highly doubt it.
Well, you figure Xbox Live is still around. This is a thought.
Well, so the reason I know, this is like a nerdy thing. Some of you guys are going to know this, obviously. Some of you won't. But the old Xbox Live cards had a pull tab where if the pull tab wasn't removed, then you clearly know that you didn't use the code. But the newer cards just have a printed code, and you know you'd have no idea whether you use them or not unless you actually try to put it in your Xbox. But I'm sure you're talking about the pull tab ones.
I'm talking about the pull tab ones.
Yeah, old school. So now I have a follow-up question before we move forward. We talked about the 2000s games. You consider Complete in Box with the manual, the book, the manual, the disc, and the box itself.
Correct.
And you prefer to have any other things that came with it. I'm along the same lines with you. I care a little bit less about that stuff. As long as the box is there, the manual, and the disc or cartridge or whatever, I'm good. If we're talking about cartridge games, then I have a different opinion. I collect like NES games loose. Like if I can get a box, sure. If it's a reasonable price, I'll get the box. But it's so expensive to get the boxes for like NES and SNES games, so I really don't care. But two of those that are contradictory to that for me are Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis, because that's something I grew up with and I kept all those boxes. So now it's like I have to continue getting the boxes for those consoles. I'll take a loose one, like if I get one for like ridiculously cheap or like someone just gives it to me. But if I'm going to pay like decent money for something for those systems, I have to have the box. It can't be a loose copy for those systems.
I agree with you. I'm right there with you. I can't have a loose cartridge because I have nowhere to store it. It's just there. Everything is kind of in its place on the bookshelf, and a loose cartridge, not me.
Even NES and like Super Nintendo games, you got to have a box?
I have to have a box.
I'd prefer to have a box too, but they're just too damn expensive. I can't do it.
Well, here's a question to you. You mentioned Super Nintendo. Do you need the dust cover?
Oh, that's a good question. No, I don't care. I don't need the dust cover. I'd prefer it to be there for sure.
Okay.
But if it's not there, I'm not going to be picky about it.
Okay.
Do you?
I prefer it. If it's not there, it's not there. But if it's there, I'm all like giddy and everything.
For sure. So the next game I want to talk about is a game that you personally own. So we're going to talk about one of the more rare Sega Saturn games. This is actually, I would say this is definitely one of the most sought after Sega Saturn games. There's a few, but Panzer Saga is definitely up there. A loose copy is going for $623. A complete in box is $1301, and a sealed one is $1392. What do you think about that?
Yes. Well, I'm happy because I own it.
Which do you own?
I own the sealed copy.
How did you never play that game? That was supposed to be like the Sega Saturn game to have.
It was the game everybody sought after. That was the game you had to have. Playing Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2, loved both of them. Saga came out, day one purchase, and then it went on the shelf and sat. And I was like, okay. I knew it was an RPG. I didn't have time to play it because at the time, I think there was a whole bunch of other stuff coming out because that was towards the end of the Saturn's run. And I want to say there was another system that was released around the same time of that. And it just kind of got pushed to the background and I never went back to it. And then years later, working at Level Up, and they're like, hey, this is a rare game. Panzer, Wes, I bet you own it. I said, you know what? I actually do. And we looked it up, and at the time, it was going for like $800 sealed.
It's gained a few hundred since then.
Yeah, a few hundred. And that was like 5 years ago.
So this is interesting to me, and I have a theory behind it, but I want to get your thoughts first before I give my opinion. Look at the prices here. This is really bizarre. I can kind of make sense of it. Okay, so Panzer Saga, a complete in box, $1,301 is what it's currently going for.
Mm-hmm.
Sealed copy, $1,392. So you're talking about a $91 difference from complete to sealed, which is usually complete to sealed. There's like a huge gap. Why do you think it's only $91 for that game?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. It's like you said, it's usually a huge gap. You would think if a complete in box was $1,300, a sealed one, you would think maybe would go for $2,000, $2,500, $3,000. But no, like it's $91. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. That's a good question.
This is what I thought about when I was doing my research. So there's two things, right? We're going to talk about like WADA graded games. We're going to talk about these heritage auctions that have been happening later on. Those people are really, really pumping up like the value of sealed games particularly. I think right now, those people specifically, because they're really starting to control the value of sealed games. They haven't focused on Sega Saturn games. So I think that's your first example is they've only really talked about Nintendo at all. They haven't really looked at Sega. I haven't heard much of them. Maybe actually, no, they did touch on Atari at one point, which was nuts. I'm not going to mention any of that here. But their main focus has been Nintendo, and I haven't really seen them talk about Sega at all. So I think that's part of I wouldn't call it a problem. I just think that's part of the reason why the gap is smaller. The other reason I think the gap is smaller is this. You and probably 5 other people in the entire country or in the entire North America region have a sealed copy of that game. So there's nobody to sell them to because there's none of them that exist. Like, I truly think that. I think if you have Panzer Saga, it's going to be an open copy. I don't, unless somebody finds like a backstock where there's like an unopened box of like multiple copies. Right. I truly don't think that. I think most people who had that game opened it. So there's not a lot to sell. So you're not seeing like, I know that sounds almost counterintuitive to what I'm saying. It should make that game version more rare. But because they hardly ever go up for sale, that's probably keeping the price down because, they're like, oh, well, it's only going to go for a little bit more. If there was a few more of them, or people's eyes were on them a little bit more, I think that would change things. But I don't know. Do you think I'm crazy? Does that not make sense?
No, it makes sense. It's that they don't have anything to really base it on yet.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think if a few people started to release them, on eBay and they sold and it had a base price line, I think you would see the sealed copy go up in value more. But like you said, because there's probably so few of them out there that are still sealed, they have nothing to base it on. So I think it's a little bit harder. But the $91, it's still surprising. I really would think it would be a little more, but we'll see.
I mean, I was shocked when I saw that. Like, I couldn't believe it, but it makes sense when I'm looking at like, different things. The next game, for example, is a game that I own, which is Ninja 5-0. It's on the Game Boy Advance. This was a lesser known title. The only reason I knew about this was because it was in the back of a magazine. It was probably like EGM or GamePro or something. And whoever reviewed it was like, you guys need to pay attention to this game. But you know how they have like big features and stuff like that? This was on like the last page of a magazine, like at the very end. And it had like, maybe 50 words or less written about it. But it had like an amazing review. So I was like, I got to check this game out. I love Ninja Gaiden. And my God, did it not disappoint. I beat the game. I love the game. Ninja 5-0 happens to be one of the hardest games to find on the Game Boy Advance. I believe this is the second rarest game to get on the Game Boy Advance. My copy's not sealed, obviously. Like I just said, I played the living shit out of this game when I got it. Absolutely love this game. But this also goes into what we were mentioning a minute ago. Like, you had a sealed copy of Panzer. Okay, so Ninja 5-0, a loose copy is $320. Complete in box is $1,171. A sealed copy is $1,391. So you're only really talking about a $200 difference, which is more significant than Panzer. But this game is like, I would say that this game is like probably way more rare than Panzer Saga. Like, this game definitely sold very few copies, and which is the reason this kind of goes back to the little Samson. Not only did this game not sell well, very few people bought it. There was a low production run. The game is awesome. It's awesome, which is like, it's why I want Little Samson, because the game is awesome, not because it's hard to find. I want it because it's an awesome game for the NES that I don't have.
Yeah, Ninja 5-0, I briefly remember it, never played it, never bought it. You raved about it. Now it's got my interest peaked.
And man, it's worth every penny. If you guys like Ninja Gaiden, I mean, this was a time where they weren't really making, like, they stopped making sequels to Ninja Gaiden. Like, nothing was happening with that series, and this was the closest thing you would get to it. They made that Shinobi on PS2. I know you got the shirt. Yes, it was probably a fine 3D Shinobi game, but it wasn't like the 2D games,
No.
But this felt like that. This was the successor we needed to those Ninja games.
Okay.
And then next, we got a few that you got on here, so we're going to run through those. We got Snatcher, which was Sega CD, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, it was. Snatcher, Sega CD. Yeah, loose, just the disc. You're looking at like $683. Complete in box, you're looking at $1,330. And then sealed, $2,222.
See, now there's a gap that like sounds about right. Like a big gap between complete in box and sealed.
Snatcher was an awesome game. Awesome game. I did beat it.
Nice.
I beat it, and I went against my better judgment and traded it in. Yeah. And then this is why I don't trade in games, because after I traded it in, within weeks, I started itching. I'm like, why did I trade that in? And I wound up buying it back.
Well, at least you got it back, man. You probably got it back for a reasonable price too.
It was still kind of expensive because when I traded in, it was, I got a couple $100 for it, so it was pricey then.
Okay. So you traded it in like kind of recently, like in the past few years.
Within the past 10 years.
Okay.
Within the past 10 years, I traded it in.
See, I thought you were like, oh, I traded it in at EB and I got like $15 for it. I had to buy it back. I bought it back for 40, something like that.
Yeah, Snatcher is one of those rare games that got a lot of praise. It was Kojima's first game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the one who did Metal Gear.
Nice, man. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was his first game.
That's nuts.
Snatcher. And then you had the sequel, Police Knots, but it wasn't as good.
Do you have that one too?
Nah, I passed on that one. Because everybody said it sucked. So I was like, it wasn't Snatcher. Snatcher was a point and click mystery game, and it had some action elements in it, but the story was fantastic. It was a pseudo Blade Runner type of game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Popful Mail. That was another Sega CD game. It was a anime-based.
Oh, it's anime. I saw the cover.
Yeah, anime-based pseudo RPG, action RPG. It was that one I own.
Did you play that one?
I did play that one. It was from what I remember. I ain't played it in like 20 years or so.
I gotta stop asking if it was good, because you're gonna be just like, even like the bad games, you're like, it's all right.
I'll find something positive to say, unless it truly sucks, which will be a discussion for a later time.
Yeah, if you guys hear Wes say something sucks, it is bad, man. I mean, it is like, do not waste your time.
Yeah, it was Loose, Popful Mail. Loose is like $320. Complete in box, we're looking at $551, and a sealed copy, $650. Yeah, it's crazy.
Again, if you compare the two, there's not a big difference between sealed and complete in box. So it's $100, $99 difference. Mm-hmm. That's it.
But again, bizarre. Just like the Panzer, it's not too many people even knew what it was.
Yeah, I'm sure that had especially like, look, if it came out now, anime is like more popular than just about anything else. Like if it came out now, that game probably would have sold a bunch of copies. Back then, there was like a niche group that was looking for that game.
Correct. I bought it because I saw the cover. It was anime based. I needed a game for my Sega CD, and I bought it because it had animated sequences in it. So I was like, oh, I gotta buy this.
And then we got Earthbound on here. Now, Earthbound is a game that I own technically, because it came on the Super Nintendo Mini that Nintendo released. So technically I own an official copy of Earthbound, but I don't own the cartridge. So do you happen to have Earthbound?
I don't own Earthbound. I passed on Earthbound because I didn't think it was something that appealed to me. But
I would have passed on it too. Like, even if I was aware of it back then, I would have looked at it and be like, there's no way in hell I'm buying this game.
It's like, I won't play it, so I'm not going to buy it. But people are coming into the store constantly asking if we have Earthbound. So it's like a resurgence. Like recently, it's like people are starting to become aware of Earthbound, and everybody's looking for it. But they also know if they find it, it's going to be very expensive.
Well, Loose isn't too bad. It's kind of bad. Loose is $337. Complete in box is $1,589. The sealed copy is definitely expensive, $2,837. But like for you and me, complete in box is probably what we would want if we could get it. And the main reason I would want this game complete in box is because it came with a strategy guide, mm-hmm. which wasn't common, a common thing to get with a game.
Yeah, it was we've had it in the store a couple of times, and I knew it came in like a large oversized box, big enough to fit a strategy guide with it. I think it was a Nintendo Power, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Now, going back to one that you had, Misadventures of Tron Bonnie? Bone? How do you say that?
Tron Bon?
Trombone?
That's a Mega Man spinoff. Mega Man Legends was the 3D PlayStation 1 game.
Yep.
And it's a spinoff from that, and it's hugely popular and hugely sought after.
I mean, you just saying the name, I was just like, I don't care. But like Mega Man, I'm suddenly interested, you know?
Yeah, it's a Mega Man spinoff, and we got it in the store a couple of times, and you know, it was just a cartridge or just a CD, and it was going for crazy money. But I haven't seen it. I honestly in about 2 years, like pre-COVID.
Probably because it bombed. I'm guessing this game was just like nobody bought like when it came out.
I don't know I don't know, because Mega Man Legends was popular.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and anything Mega Man, I think is still popular. But for some reason, yeah, this game, I don't know if they didn't just manufacture a whole lot of them, but yeah, that one is loose, just a CD. You know, is $237. You know, complete in box, we're looking at 604. And sealed, but like you said, here's another one, a very small difference, $670.
That's because the WADA, man, they're not paying attention. They don't care about PlayStation. They're so focused on Nintendo, not looking at the stuff that's actually rare, which is another thing I'll complain about later. Speaking of Mega Man, here's a perfect segue. So we got Mega Man X3 for Super Nintendo. Now I have Mega Man X and X2, but I don't have X3. And X3 seems to definitely be harder to get. Do you have X3?
I don't have X3. I don't have X3. I've seen X3 in the store. Someone traded it in or sold it to us, and I didn't realize how expensive that game was. But again, kind of like the Panzer Saga, it came out towards the end of Nintendo's lifespan, so they didn't manufacture a whole lot of them. So the price on that is higher than I ever expected for a Mega Man game.
Loose is $285, complete in box is $818, sealed copies $2,095. So now there's a big gap back there.
$2,000.
But look, it's a Nintendo game. Do you see?
The one we had in the store, I want to say we sold for like $750, like $700. Yeah, it was complete. It was complete in box.
Let me ask you a question, because I'm very curious about this. I've obviously worked in a video game store for a long time, but we carried retro games for a very short period of time, and the company didn't know what they were doing with it. That's a whole other story. But you guys do know what you're doing with retro games. So my curiosity is this: a game like that, like a game that's like pretty rare. I would say Mega Man X3 isn't the rarest game, but it's an uncommon to rare game, somewhere in the mix of that.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take you guys to sell a game like that?
You know, it varies on what it is. You know, some stuff will sell faster than others. But that Mega Man X3, it sat for about 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's longer than I expected, because
Me too.
It was a curiosity piece. So we would post it. It's on our web store. You know, people would come in and they would see it and they would like, you know, oh my God, it's Mega Man. Wait, how much is it? Oh, wow, I can't afford that. But every now and then you'll get that one collector who knows what it is and they'll buy it. Some stuff sells quicker than others. You know, it's just, I don't know, no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have guessed like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, something around there. 2 months is definitely longer than I thought. But so you guys you're saying you're advertising these online. I'm just generally curious. Are you selling hard to find stuff like on eBay or something like that? Or are you just saying that we have it and come to the store?
No, we do have a web store, but sometimes we will post on eBay. We'll give, you know, the local game collectors an opportunity to come into the store and buy it first.
That's awesome.
If it sits too long, then we will post it on eBay.
I can't blame you for that. You guys got to make your money back. You got to make sure we're, you know, paying the bills.
Yeah, but we try to give, you know, the in-person game collectors first crack at it before we start posting stuff online.
And then we have a game I never heard of. I'm gonna let you pronounce this one. Go for it.
Oh, KO Flying Squadron.
Yeah.
Sega CD.
What the hell is that?
It's another anime based game.
Of course. All right, now it's starting to make sense.
But it's a shooter. It's a side scrolling shooter.
Nice. Like a shoot 'em up.
Yeah. It's that's all it is.
So did they have, I'm guessing this has like anime cutscenes in between the shooting segments?
It had like an anime intro, and I can't remember. I want to say it had some anime cutscenes dispersed throughout the game, but it's all anime themed, anime based, and yeah, it's rare, like so rare that if you happen to have a sealed copy, you're looking at $3,600.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. Complete in boxes is not far away from that. It's 3,060, and then loose is 576. Mm-hmm. And then you have this one too. Now, do you have this complete in box, or do you have this sealed?
No, mine's complete in box.
Okay. At least you got some enjoyment out of it. You know,
I did. I loved it, and I love shooters. So.
Oh yeah.
When I was good at them.
Dude, I'm with you, man. Like I used to be a lot better at games. Like I'm 37, and like just in the past 5 to 7 years, like my abilities have like gone down the tubes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like our reflexes aren't as fast as they used to be, and our response time is like, ugh.
Yeah, like it's with shooters and stuff like that, where you need to be like super fast. I'm definitely not as good, but I will say this: I did play Ninja Gaiden in the past year or two. I can still beat some ass in Ninja Gaiden. I'm still very good at that game. Which that game's very hard.
Very hard. One of my favorite games, but it's very hard.
Yeah, I love that game to death. So I'm still good at that. But like stuff where you got to be like super fast, I can't hang anymore, man. I get torn apart. Street Fighter: The Collection, that was Sega CD also, and
Sega Saturn.
Was
Sega
it Saturn?
It was Sega Saturn.
Okay.
Yeah,
trying to remember
Saturn.
The picture of it in my head. I looked at the pictures for like all this stuff. Yeah, you're right. It is Saturn. My bad. Obviously, you would know. You have the game. Why am I sitting here thinking about it? The hell's wrong with me?
I do. And all it was just a collection of like Street Fighter games on one disc.
Did it have like Street Fighter 2 Turbo, or was it Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo? That was the good one, right?
You know, I think it had like Alpha on it. It had I want to say might have Street Fighter 2 Turbo or Champion Edition. It had one of the earlier Street Fighters, and then it had like Alpha, and it might have had Alpha 2.
It might have had Champion Edition because that was on Sega Genesis, so that would make sense. Yeah,
but it was a couple different versions of Street Fighter on it for the Sega Saturn, and it was that one. Surprised me. I didn't think it was going to be worth a lot, but it's going for some hefty money. You know, we're not talking thousands, but you know.
Yeah, loose is $92.42, complete in box is $346, sealed is $442. So yeah, it's still going for a pretty penny. Complete in box is $346. That's pretty damn good, you know. But it's also Street Fighter. That's yeah.
The Street Fighter is pretty common. So to have a Street Fighter game, you know, over a couple $100, it's impressive.
Yeah, a lot of Sega CD stuff is harder to find. So I think even with something that might be more common like that, it's you know, it's gone up in value just because of that. Other things that have gone up in a lot of value over the years is Pokemon. People are crazy for the cards right now, which is forcing the price of the games up. You have Pokemon Stadium 2. You have a complete in box one, right?
I have a complete in box.
So yours is $288. A loose one's going for $68 right now, and then a sealed one is $614. That game is like mediocre though, right? Like it's right.
It's Pokemon, man. It's Pokemon. It's
Pokemon.
That's all I can say.
That's a Wes ass answer right there. It's
Pokemon. That's all you got to say. It's Pokemon. And like you said, the Pokemon craze is just, it's like heating up again. You know, you have Pokemon Go on the phone. The cards are still hot. It's just Pokemon, man. Yeah,
people are crazy with those cards right now. Those cards are like unbelievable.
Yeah, it's you know, somebody just sold us complete in-box Pokemon Sapphire for Game Boy Advance.
I bet you. I know. Like I said earlier, Game Boy games are going up. How much did you guys buy that one back for?
But we're selling it for. We actually currently have it's like $280 for a Pokemon game.
That game was probably one of the best selling games on the Game Boy, and it's selling for that price.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Absolute. These are crazy times we live in, folks. Crazy times for retro games. Another crazy game I got right here. It's Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. This is a complete in box copy, so it has everything it originally came with. Complete in box is going for $250, which again is pointing out that the Game Boy Advance games, especially complete in box Game Boy Advance games, are really up in price. Even a loose copy of this game is going for $110, and then if you're lucky to have a sealed one, that's going for $380 right now.
For a Game Boy game.
These games, if you guys don't remember, these games were between like $29.99 and $39.99. Mm-hmm. That's what they retail for back in the day.
Yep. Use major investment 10 times over.
Yeah, like I have another game. It's Advance Wars. I have 2 copies of it actually. I got a loose one, for free. I didn't pay anything for it. And that one's like, the loose copy's like $45 right now, man. And the sealed one's over $100. I'm just like, this is crazy, dude.
Yeah, using Game Eye and I'm logging and cataloging my stuff, and I'm coming across like Game Boy games I have, and I'm like, wait, how much for this Game Boy game?
I'm telling you, dude, Game Boy's hot, man. The Game Boy stuff is going right now.
Yeah. I just an honorable mention. Before we move on, we talked about Meat Moan and Steel Battalion. And and doing Game Eye, Game Eye, everybody, it's fantastic, but it does give you pricing and complete. I mean, because you have to have everything for it to like really be worth anything, because it does come with that giant controller.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was like several $100.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. That game didn't sell well, mostly because I think when it launched, it was like $400 or something. So it didn't sell a lot of copies, mostly because of the price. Not that it was a bad game. I think it got like pretty good reviews for the most part. But who the hell, other than Wes, who the hell was going to spend like $400 on this giant ass mech game?
Yeah, first in line. Yeah, as long as you have everything complete in box with the control, the 40 button controller, you're looking at like $414, for a game that came out over 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
That was an original Xbox also, wasn't it?
That was original Xbox.
Nice, man. Yeah. I love the original Xbox. It was so advanced, man. Like when you look at that generation of systems, it was so ahead of PS2 and GameCube. Like I love the PS2 and GameCube, don't get me wrong, but everything looked better and usually played better on the Xbox.
Yeah. Oh, I love my Xbox. The water effects on it was phenomenal. And that was like the first system to really push HD, even though we're talking like 480. It had
an option for component video cables way before anybody else did.
It did. That was their big thing. They were pushing high definition games.
Yeah.
Game prices. Woo. I'm curious to see what other people have that's worth anything, our viewers and listeners. And, I'm curious to see what they're sitting on. That's worth some money.
Yeah. Let us know, guys. Drop a comment in YouTube. Definitely. Or you can send us a message on Facebook or Twitter. Let us know what you have. We use Instagram too. You can do it on there, I guess.